Hey everybody, it's Matt Higgins going over the news. This was an article on February 3rd, 2023. This is about Clarence Thomas, everybody's favorite anti-black man. I don't know how else to say it. Guy's corrupt and evil as fuck. The article, Court. Wife beating was legal when the Constitution was written, so wife beaters can own guns. Sounds like hyperbole, right? Here's just some of the article. A man beating his wife was legal across the United States until 1871, when Alabama and Massachusetts banned it. Hard to believe Alabama jumped on that gun first. That fact has new relevance in today's gun laws. So, following the logic of Clarence Thomas in his 2022 opinion, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a federal law banning the sale of guns to people subject to restraining orders in domestic violence cases. In striking down a New York law requiring proper cause for concealed handgun permits, Thomas explained that the law was illegitimate because it was not consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. In other words, if there was no such law in 1791, it's unconstitutional now. You see where I'm going with the logic here? Exactly where this article is going. So it was fully legal to beat your wife back in the day, and there were no laws saying you couldn't do it. And there were no laws against certain guns, so because the Constitution didn't foresee how ultimately fucked up this country would become and didn't draw it out in crayon for everybody, they left it extremely vague, and the Constitution itself was extremely misogynistic and racist and classist, especially in the way it's been used to club poor people and minorities and women. So, because these things were legal back in the day, Clarence Thomas believes that we can't make laws against them now because it wouldn't be in the spirit of the Constitution when it was written. I wish somebody would tell Mr. Clarence Thomas that he wouldn't be where he is if we conducted ourselves today in the spirit of the Constitution when it was written, because he wasn't even a full fucking human being back in the day. When the Constitution was written, he was what, 3/5 of a person? He certainly couldn't become a United States Supreme Court judge. He he couldn't even vote. He didn't even count as a full person in a census. He would have been a slave, and he would have stayed a slave. And if we had stayed within the spirit of the Constitution as it was written back in the day, this motherfucker wouldn't even be able to voice his opinion on anything ever. Why do we need the Constitution to allow us to exhibit some common fucking sense and say, hey, if you are being charged with, I don't know, domestic violence, you lose your gun rights until you're proven innocent. And I know the Constitution says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Everybody forgets the first part of that, which is in order to maintain a well-regulated militia, because that's what that constitutional amendment was for, because we had just come off a war with another country, and we didn't want to have to go through that again without our country being properly prepared. But properly prepared with a well-regulated militia does not mean that every single person has to have a gun nowadays, because we have that well-regulated militia. It's called the fucking Army. It's the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, the National Guard, the Coast Guard. We've got all this stuff that we don't have to worry about having every single fucking human being armed to the teeth. No country is going to invade us, okay? the first thing they're going to do is bomb the fuck out of us. All right? And by then, we won't need guns to protect ourselves from the other countries, because they'll be bombed to fucking the Stone Age too. The only use the guns will have at that point will be to kill each other in this country, because we'll be fighting for resources, because in this Christian country, we would act extremely unchristian-like in protect your own ass, protect your own, fuck everybody else, because that's what Jesus would have wanted. But I digress. The Constitution definitely needs to be rewritten, probably from the ground up, to reflect the times that are now. And Clarence Thomas, maybe we should put him back into slavery, because that seems to be where he wants to live. Who's married to a white woman, no less. He would have been killed on the spot back in the day in the spirit of the Constitution. I just want to throw that out there. So, later.